about all these things, there is a there's a worry, there's a concern, right? And the worry and the concern relates to democracy, and the worry and the concern relates to what's actually going on here. So, in this live, what I want to talk about is a little bit about. There we go. Just making sure on everything. I want to make a little bit of a conversation about what's happening with the councils, which are currently looking at postponing the elections, and they claim there's a variety of good reasons why they're doing that. And also, I want to talk about whether or not you have any way you can respond to this. So, you've read this in the news, you've seen this everywhere. People all talking about this thing of um, council elections, 63 of them so far, which they are talking about delaying. And the reason that they are talking about delaying these, the argument that they are putting forward is very simply because they say there's changes to boundaries, there's changes to rules, there's a variety of arguments that they're putting forward. Now, here is the problem with this. If you buy into that as an idea, and if you do, that's absolutely fine. But if you buy into that as an idea, you are accepting the government version, which is there's nothing to see here. They're just delaying them. It's a much more sensible spend of money, and they are claiming that it is down to each council. So I'm going to talk about that today. Now, that's a very brief position because most of us understand exactly what's happening. We've all seen it in the news. More importantly, since I have been talking about this in the last couple of days, I've had dozens and dozens of messages from people saying, is it possible to not pay your council tax? Is it possible to delay your council tax? Are you allowed to somehow put your council tax in escrow? Can you complain? Duncan over in Insta there saying it's our right to vote. I agree with you, Duncan. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you can or can't do. Spoiler, there's not a huge amount you can do. But the reason I'm taking time to do this live now is previously, when I talked about council tax, there's a certain type of person, and we can call them freemen of the land. Hi Tanya over in TikTok. We can talk to them about them being sovereign citizens. We can talk about them being freemen, or we can talk about them being absolute nutters. Now, whatever you believe, entirely up to you. But what I'm going to share with you today is a series of responses to what I get asked most often, and a series of I suppose, challenges that I get from those same people. And because they're always the same challenges, I pretty much know what the answers are right now. So, afternoon, Vintage, good afternoon to you. So, we are joined at the moment to TikTok. You've got the backstage view there because I'm having to use a separate item to film for you just because of the platform I'm using. And here we've got YouTube, Facebook, and Insta. We've got 29 people on Insta. Hello, people on Insta. We have 9 on Facebook, and we have 6 currently on YouTube. So welcome, everybody. If you are on TikTok, please do take a moment just to tap the screen occasionally if you're enjoying the live that we're doing. It's much appreciated, and it does help the algorithm. It doesn't cost you anything, but just it helps ensure that you can see more of what I'm doing and how it works. If you are enjoying me on TikTok, you can follow me, I think, just at the top there. There's a follow button. You've just sent me a rising star, Woodland Spirit. Thank you very much. On YouTube and Facebook, of course, you can share stars. Stars do cost you, for full disclosure, I think 1 cent each. But the reason you would do that, assuming you can afford 1 cent per star, is it helps me and the algorithm on Facebook. On YouTube, I think you can send me thumbs up, and on Insta, I'm not entirely sure what you send, like waves or something. Anyway, if you are wanting to send any of those things, that would be good. Now, I'm going to talk for a little bit. And I'm going to then get into questions. And Chris Miller, I can see there on TikTok. No, I haven't messaged you from another profile. If you do, by the way, get all sorts of versions that look like me, that have a version of my name but not quite my name, it's likely somebody trying to sell you some dodgy bollocks. I don't message people directly and say, would you like to buy some dodgy bollocks? However it's worded. Right, let's get into this, because this is key and this is important, and you need to understand what's going on. So, central government is saying local elections can be delayed if they think circumstances are... sorry, Ben, not also. Thank you, Holiday Farm Boss, much appreciated. Right, let me get into this. Local governments have been told, local councils have been told by governments that if they wish to delay elections, they can do. And councils are giving reasons. They say structural changes, boundary changes, or it's not efficient to elect councillors for 1 year. So we're hearing that a lot at the moment. It's not efficient. Definitely not you, Chris. Um, it just doesn't make sense, right? They're saying it's not worth it for a year. It's a waste of money, and therefore um, let's put it off for just 1 year. So I'm going to start to pull this to pieces. So first of all, Labour councils and Conservative councils are the two political flavours that are pushing hard not to run their elections now or in May when they should. They're saying we need to push it back just a year. And if you watch any of those smug Labour ministers, they're saying, oh, it's not, it's just ridiculous. It's a conspiracy theory. But think about this. Both Labour and Conservative have been punished by voters. Alternative parties are getting ground. I'm not here to talk in favour of alternative parties. It's just we can all see it. And when government says you may delay if circumstances allow, here is what they are doing. They are very openly distancing themselves from the decision that is being made by the council, so they can say it's not a matter for us, fully aware that both governments, both Conservative and Labour, are desperate to try and avoid elections. Why? Well, you know why as well as I do, as well as they do. Both Greens and Reform, whatever you think about their politics, about their leaders, are absolutely beating Conservative and Labour. In fact, Conservative now is ahead in the polls of Labour, which is just astonishing given how badly Conservative views lost just over a year and a half ago. So they are saying you can delay if you want. And here's what will happen. Labour government is going to get the outcome it wants, i.e. councils going, yeah, we can't because of these reasons, without having to take responsibility. This is exactly the same that they did, both governments have done for a long time, money laundering. So what governments do is they say to, say, banks, you must do this or we will fine you X amount. Banks then enforce what the government wants. And this becomes authority without having to be responsible for the authority. McKeddy there on Insta. Yep, Starmer and Co are scared of reform. I think they are. Chris, this is the line between this and authoritarianism. Absolutely. So this is exactly what's happening. So this is a worry because what we're now saying is that democracy can be delayed for efficiency. That's if you believe, by the way, the efficiency arguments. Now, many of us do not. Let's be honest, we don't really believe it's anything to do with efficiency. We know it's because they're scared of both Reform and the Greens. But it's being argued for efficiency. So what else could councils delay for reasons of efficiency? For that matter, since when did the council or the government ever care about what things cost? Ask yourself this. How many conversations have you had with people you know where you live about the amount of money that the councils waste? How many conversations have we all had about all sorts of ridiculous things the government has done, wasting enormous sums of money? For suddenly government and local councils to say the reason we're delaying elections is because it is far more cost efficient that way. This is an utter nonsense. What about HS2? What about everything the government has ever done? Good afternoon, Trish. Lynn C, thank you. Everything that the government and councils generally do, whatever sort of politics you're into, is generally a waste of money. They don't worry. In fact, let me go further. If they wanted these elections to take place and an interviewer said, but is it really worth all the cost just for 1 year? The MP or the councillor would say, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. There's another broken promise. By the way, if you're just joining me, we've got 30 people on Insta. Welcome to you. We have 60 people on TikTok. Good afternoon to you. You've got the backstage view there. Good afternoon. And on Facebook, we have 12 people. YouTube, we have 17 people. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. If you're not already following me on that platform, please consider doing so. And on my profile, you'll see a link which takes you to all the other socials if you want to find them. You'll also find on there a link to something called the Wealth Formula. The Wealth Formula doesn't cost you money. You can sign up. It gives you a 5-day reset, gets you rethinking about how you spend money, how you save money, and what you're doing with your life. There is an opportunity to buy my book there called The Wealth Formula, but it is there should you wish to have a look at it. If you don't wish to have a look at it, that's fine as well. So let me get back to what we're doing. Adverts over. Make sure you're following me if you're not. So as well as the issue of, it's down to efficiency, what about the broken promise? Last year, 5 councils stated that they are not going to run elections for 1 year, and therefore they were all due this year. And those councils are delaying again, which means suddenly it's a 2-year delay. What is to stop a council this year saying 1 year, we'll have it sorted for next year, and then they don't? And by the way, since councils and governments miss deadlines the whole time, right? They're always missing deadlines. What makes you possibly believe that this time they will get the elections in on time for next year? If they're saying it's down to boundary changes, if they're saying it's down to mayoral changes, how are they suddenly going to get everything fitted into a year? It's a nonsense. Oldie3323 on Insta, this type of behaviour from the government will lead to interaction. Is that insurrection you're thinking of? Possibly so. Great content, Graham. Thank you. You're welcome, David. Chris, genuine review. The Wealth Formula is a fantastic series and book. If you're thinking about it, buy. Oh, Chris, thank you very much. So I think we are struggling to understand that any of us actually believe the council or the government. The link isn't working for Wealth Formula. Oh, that's good to hear, Casa. Thank you. I will see to that immediately after this. Thank you so much. That's embarrassing, isn't it? Do you know what? I've noticed numbers have dropped a little bit recently. I wonder why that was. All right, let's pick this up. So I'm getting these questions all the time. Can you stop paying council tax? Can you delay payment? Can you miss a month? Can you put it into escrow? I'm going to give you the short answer now. You can do whatever you want. Thanks, James. You can do whatever you want. You can delay payments. You can not pay. You can challenge. You can write a strongly worded letter. You can stick it in an escrow. But none of it is going to change the basic legal reality, which is this. Council tax isn't optional. It is not contractual. Sovereign citizen morons, sov-shits as we like to call them, freemen of the land morons as we like to call them. It will affect your credit rating, JMAS. It's exactly the point I'm making. They like to tell you you didn't contract. No, you didn't contract. You didn't contract to pay income tax. You didn't contract to pay VAT either. You didn't contract to pay corporation tax or all the other crap you have to pay for in this country. So it's not optional. It's not contractual. They don't need your consent to pay it. You don't need a signed agreement. It exists because statute says it exists. And the really harsh thing, and I think this is harsh, so many people now, since I've made these videos, so many people have said, if they are going to delay local elections, can we not pay or can we delay our council tax? Because the two are inextricably linked. And I would agree with you, the two are inextricably linked. But no legal mechanism exists to do that. So you do what you choose to do, but the outcome is potentially going to be very bad for you. As JMAS says, it will seriously affect your credit rating. Other stuff happens too. So it is highly likely not to go the way you want it to go. Statutory in Scotland to pay council tax, says Vintage Media. GeForce Joe says the one bill I will never miss is council tax. So you are in a situation, you're in a situation where it's not a good win for anybody. Now, I'm going to pick up some more of your messages in just a moment, and then I'm going to carry on because there's an argument that I get all the time on this same topic. What if we all stop paying? What if we all stop paying? If we all stop paying, will that change anything? I'll come to that argument in just a minute. So, quick advert break. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Insta, and TikTok on the backstage camera over here. I really appreciate all your input, your engagement. If you're not following me on TikTok, do so now. Tap the screen, doesn't cost you a single penny, but it sends some TikTok love out into the TikTok universe. Facebook, YouTube, or Facebook and Insta, I think you can tap or you can send a thing. Please do that. Make sure you're following me also. Facebook, you can send stars. Stars cost you 1 cent each. They cost you 1 cent each. Don't send them if you can't afford them. But if you want to help the algorithm to help me, so you get more of me for you, that would be very appreciated. So let's pick up some messages from YouTube and Facebook. Afternoon, Heath. Jean, hi to you. Monique, to stay in power regardless of what the nation says about the governing. This is Labour being dictatorial. Monique, I agree with you. Starmer is power crazy. He must recognise he has no leadership skills. I mean, there's an interesting thing. It's a bit like the boy bands question, isn't it, right? Think of any boy band, any girl band, or any mixed band that you can think of. There's usually a useless one. I actually asked this question previously on social videos. Does the useless one know they're the useless one there to make up numbers? Does Starmer know he's the useless one? Currently, all people in Parliament are corrupt. No one actually cares about the people's voice, says Melodrama Boy. People are consumed by culture wars and have been for 30 years. The government is not held to account one iota. I think that's true. You can do that, but you shouldn't, says Simon. That's about not paying council tax. I'd agree, Simon. We have our occasional, we hate them, then do a U-turn, look at people's perception of Boris. They forgot what he's done and wouldn't mind him back in. I'm not sure that's true, Melodrama. I think Boris let down a huge number of people and let down vast sums of people and made a lot of people very, very disappointed. And also just on TikTok here, Dan, thanks for following me. You weren't following me previously. Rhiannon, thank you for reposting. Lynn, thank you for reposting. We are beyond the optimal on the Laffer curve. They'll find out the hard way. For those of us who don't know Laffer curve, now, just to be fair, Jake, the Laffer curve is not something that is generally accepted as really a plausible proven a piece of economic theory. However, it is frequently held up as a great example of how much more tax do you think you can get out of people if you just keep hitting with more and more. So I think there's a real common sense point to it. And everything the government does in their own political interests, not the people's, says Eigels, is that? I can't quite read that. Rob, thank you for the rose. Parkinson, Johnny, hello, over on Insta. Love the live stream, Graham. Thank you, Johnny. More broadly, are we dealing with a narco-tyranny? I don't really know what that is. Right, let's get back to this question. What happens if we all stop paying council tax? Surely they can't fine us all. I get this all the time. So I'm going to answer this for you right now. You might not like my answer, and if you decide to ignore my answer, that's fine. You are an adult. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. Actually, on this point as well, because freemen of the land types, sov shits, as we like to call them, they have this thing where they say, wake up. They say things they kind of make out they've read some special secrets. Oh, well, I've done the research. Yeah, if you do the research, you will be on my gang. Of course, we all want to think we have hidden information. We all want to believe we know something other people don't. But you can look this up yourself. Any of us can look this up ourselves. I've made a standing challenge. The standing challenge is, if any lawyer can get me out of paying council tax safely and legally, I will happily pay them 20 grand for it, because that is under 4 years council tax for me. You don't need to pay a lawyer. You can do it for free. Yeah, I'm prepared to pay 20 grand for it. Right, Labour would hate this live, says JMS. Right, let's get into this. What happens if everybody stopped paying council tax? They can't take on everyone. First thing, everyone won't stop paying. That's the first thing to understand. So I'm getting this all the time. I'm dealing with thousands of comments now across 4 main platforms. So I'm getting lots and lots of data on this. What happens if everyone stops paying? Right, first thing, everybody won't stop paying. So straight up front, I'm not going to stop paying because I'm a grown-up, because I value my my situation, because frankly, it's a thing you got to pay. So like corp tax and income tax and NI and divvy tax and all the other taxes I get hit with, I'm going to hit and pay. Let me just deal with this small point here on you, notably anonymous here. We did it with the poll tax. Okay, we didn't do it with the poll tax. What happened was, at the arse end of a government in a very bad situation, suddenly a large number of people who'd never been required to pay local rates were required to pay taxes. And a large number of those people were deadbeats who had nothing to lose. We are not talking about that right now. What we are now looking at is people who are settled, who live in homes, who live their houses where their property is, and they believe that if they mess around with council tax, they get themselves into trouble. That's the problem. Poll tax hit everyone. So if you're sleeping on somebody's sofa, you have to pay poll tax still. And that was the difficulty. So a large numbers of people were suddenly eligible. We don't have that same critical mass now. I constantly have to phone because bins don't get collected. You raise a complaint, it forms we dealt with in 10 days. Yeah, they are ridiculously slow. Saying you do one thing is doing it another, says Jeff. Say you write letters to the council. Say if we can't have the vote, I'm withholding it till we vote. Tracy, I'm going to deal with that point in just a minute. I get that all the time. Thought you said Diddy tax, going to be a lot of skint women in my street. Sorry, James. Same as council tax. Right. Thank you, Mr. D&D. TV license people won't stop paying it. Right. So, first of all, council tax, what happens if we all stop paying it? Right, we won't all stop. So some people will keep paying. I'll keep paying. Some people will say they're not going to pay it, and then they'll panic, and then they'll pay it. In other words, you'll get a fewer and fewer number of people. Some people will pay it, but say they haven't. And then they'll go, oh, I don't know. Here's a breaking thought for you. Some of the free men of the land types who sell templates to get you out of paying council tax, they pay their council tax. They just say they don't, because then they sell you templates for 50 quid a time, 30 quid a time, whatever. We have all seen those people, and they are flooded with huge number of comments. I'm quite good at talking to a camera, let's be honest. Whether you like my style or not, I could create a template that looks plausible. I could sell it for 20 quid. I could do that for 3 months. I would easily make several £1,000s. And then I could vanish and do my next one. Or I could just cut that off. Or I could close that down and do the next one. But it would be utter drivel. So not everyone's going to do it, which means you're dealing with a much smaller number. And that much smaller number is important. Let's think about motorways. When you're driving up a motorway, if you don't drive currently, you've been on a motorway, you know what we're talking about. You're driving along at, let's say, 80 miles an hour. So you are over the 70 miles an hour speed limit. But you are passing some people quite a lot. They're going really slowly. You are just drawing alongside some people and edging past them. They're probably doing about the same as you, a bit slower. And some people are whizzing past you. So you think, I'm kind of in the middle with speeds. I'm all right with this, no problems at all. But here's the worry. When the police pull you, what are you going to say? You're going to say, I was keeping with the speed of the traffic, with the flow of the traffic. And the officer will say, but the speed limit's at 70 and you were tracked at doing 80. And you will then say, but what about all these other people? To which the officer will say, I stopped you. This is the thing with council tax. If you decide that you're not going to pay your council tax, you may not get a challenge, or you might do. So the real question is not, could they do this to everyone? Could they stop everyone? Could they get everyone in court? The real question is, how comfortable are you with being dealt with by the whole process? Now, can you put money aside? Can you put it in an escrow? Can you pay some of it? Can you miss 1 month and then pick it up again? I refer you to what I said earlier. You can do what you want, but there's no legal mechanism. There's no legal mechanism to not pay your council tax. So thank you, Besotted Carper. So if you decide you're not going to pay your council tax because the elections are delayed, my personal view is I completely, totally, 100% ethically and morally understand why you would take that stand. But in terms of whether it's going to get you what you want, here's what I predict. The elections won't happen if the elections won't happen. There's no legal mechanism to make the elections happen if you don't pay. And all of the pressure will be on you because you haven't paid. That's where I think you would find yourself. Council bailiffs are brutal. I had it when my wife got really sick. I'm sorry to hear that. Help me help you over on TikTok. I have to run, keep the pressure on both local and national levels, says Simon. Martin, it's good to see the public's eyes are being opened by folk like you. Hopefully blind loyalty is now a thing of the past. People vote with their minds. Thank you, Martin, on Facebook. Oops, just need to deal with this chappy. There we go. I think the person who asked this understands this about some paying not to because no one's paid it. Yeah, I've got to that point, Afghan. Afghan, I don't know who you are, because like all people who come in here with a bit of attitude and big bruising shoulders, you're working anonymously. So let's just ditch you. Right. Should council tax and elections be linked? In my opinion, yes. Tracy, thank you for joining the fan club. Should elections be delayed? No, they shouldn't. Is delaying elections dangerous? Yes, I think it is. Is this a threat to democratic accountability? Yes, I think it is. Is there a legal right to withhold payment? No, there's not. Not at all. Now, there are some things that you will be told by sovereign citizens, by freemen of the land nutters, and they come out of the woodwork whenever there's a discussion about council tax. They start off with things like, if you do some research, you realise you don't have to pay this, or yeah, you need to open your eyes. You're all sheep, just paying. You could do what I do, get a bit of research, and you realise you no longer have to pay. You'll see this all the time. Let's deal with some of these things. You didn't sign a contract for your council tax. No, you don't need to. Contract law is irrelevant here. So when they say things like phone up your local council, ask to see the contract that you signed, they then giggle like they've been super clever and go, they won't be able to show you. To which the answer is, well, no, because it doesn't need a contract. You didn't agree a contract. That's that. So there's no signature. You just have to pay. I'm still getting people sharing messages with me. Why don't you declare your home a place of worship and then they won't tax you? Now, this started, I don't know how many years ago. It still does the rounds. There are still people who believe this. If you are somebody who believes this, there's nothing I can say to convince you otherwise, except maybe try this. Get onto your local council site, do a bit of searching, and find the page that says if your home is a place of worship, you don't have to pay council tax. And when you can't find that page, realise you have been conned by sovereign citizens. Realise you have been fooled by people who call themselves freemen of the land. That is where you're going. Andrea, thank you for sharing the live. So quick check-in with everybody. We've got a bunch of people still on Insta, 24 of you. Thank you so much for being here. It is much appreciated. We have 10 people in Facebook, 47 in YouTube. I'll pick up some more of your messages in just a moment. And on TikTok, we have 69 people over on the backstage camera here. Honestly, of all taxes, council tax is the one I don't mind paying. At least I get my waste taken. Yeah, I pay $5.5 grand for my waste taken. So I have a slightly different view. Delayed taxes, bailiff still due, says Han Solo. Thank you. English, if I get a donkey and 2 sheep, can I call it a working farm? I think this is an interesting one, isn't it? I think we've all got these ideas of these little loopholes. The loopholes exist if you do them fully and completely, but they probably aren't things you're going to want to do. So anyone can make their home a place of worship, but that means having signs up, opening hours, public coming in. You can't just go, oh, this bedroom is where I go and do praying or thinking or whatever. You can't just do that. So probably not. Glad I don't live down south, says Jake. Handled like they did protesters, take on the big ones and the ones with the voice to send a message. Probably so, D&D. I heard council tax is unlawful. Yeah, Wayne. Well, if you've been talking to sovereign citizens or freemen of the lands, that is what they like to tell people. I saw something funny, says number 37 Co. If you make your garden a grave, you don't have to pay because you're now at church or something stupid. Yeah, I'm not going to trust that one if you don't mind, number 37. I'm not sure it's entirely truthful, but, you know, we can keep hoping, right? So I'm going to bring this to a close in the next 5-10 minutes or so, and I'll take random questions. I would love it. I would absolutely love it if I was wrong about council tax. Okay? Freemen of the lands don't expect that. They expect you to want to be right, and they want to be right themselves. Same as sov shits. I don't know if there's any difference between sov shits and whatever else. Make your house a snail farm, yeah. But I think most people forget that actually this is something I would like to be wrong about. I would like it if there was a genuine clause where I could not pay council tax. And if there was a genuine clause, I would pay a solicitor in order to activate that clause. And I told people, I told all the SOV citizens, find me that solicitor. We've got a country full of solicitors that love to take money for doing things. That's what solicitors do. I will happily pay them. And their arguments always do exactly the same route. If you have a similar similar interaction, ask them the same questions. The first thing they say is you don't need a solicitor. I say, yeah, I know that, but I'm a busy guy. I run several businesses. I'm prepared to pay and I want to do it properly. Second thing they say is, oh, yeah, but you'd have to find a solicitor who is open to this because they're all in the grip of the government. That's plainly nonsense because solicitors on a regular basis challenge the government for things like migrants and win and get paid. So there is no credibility in that argument. If you can find one solicitor or one financial advisor who will, for a fee, get you out of council tax, you'll take it. I will take it. Everyone will take it. And you know what? Within 1 year, tops, no one would be paying council tax. That's the reality. So back to the whole purpose of this live here today on TikTok, Facebook, Live, YouTube and Insta. Thank you all for being here. If you believe that there is a way to not pay council tax to register your disapproval at elections being postponed, I am sorry to tell you that isn't the case. I am not a fan of council tax. It makes no difference to me if you pay yours or not. I don't care. If you don't pay yours, you deal with what happens. That's the thing about being an adult, right? But I can share with you, if you don't pay it, you're going to get yourself into the world of trouble that they're going to get you into. Let's be honest, they can delay it all they want. They are finished. Jake, I think you're right. This guy keeps telling me they can't do anything if you don't pay your council tax. Easy Cook, Ez Cook, yes, people do. Steady. In France, it's 90% less. What do you think about CCAN common law for the common people? Do you want to ask me what your actual question is, Kevin? Stop trying to catch me out whether or not I know what you're talking about. Is there a choice between the public sector and private sector in your opinion? Not what I'm talking about today. Dan, within 1 month, the law would be changed, you mean? Yeah, Marcus, that's an even better example. Yes. I recently found a rabbit hole of people not paying their mortgages too. Insane stuff, says Hayden. Right, rabbit holes are for rabbits. If you're a grown-up and you are sitting up till 4 in the morning reading sites from 5 years ago. Yesterday, right, I have a lot of, you can understand now, I'm running across a number of platforms, so I have lots of messages coming in. One guy said, you don't have to pay council tax, read point 6 of this document. He sent me a document that even at first glance on the first page, it's nothing to do with the UK council tax. But I went to point 6. I then I used a number of law programs and formats and AI, ran it through, utter piffle, rubbish, nonsense, drivel, rubbish. I went back to the guy and said, there's nothing here. I mean, of course there's nothing here. Oh, well, that's because your eyes aren't opened. No, I would love it if my eyes were opened. So that's the case. Graham David says, Gil Tracy, common law loonies are their own worst enemies. They are. Pick up, they absolutely are, aren't they? They are a degree of insanity, I think, but never mind. Let's just do that. There we go. The council will definitely do something if you don't pay council tax. That isn't very nice, says help me. I agree with you. Insta, we are still with us, that's good. Let's pick up a couple more of these on YouTube and Facebook. It's under some EU convention or act. No, Wayne, it isn't. No, it isn't. It isn't. It absolutely isn't, Wayne. There is nothing that you can do other than the easily accessible ways that mean you're not eligible to have to pay council tax. In fact, let me give you an example, right? And this is a genuine example that most sovereign citizens cannot give you. I'm in a self-contained 2-bedroomed bungalow flat. There is a council tax account number for it, and I pay no council tax because this house is registered, or this bit that I'm in is registered as an annex to the main house, and the council has accepted that nobody other than the people who live in the main house have access to this annex, even though it is entirely self-contained. It has its own address, its own power supply, its own water supply. The council has accepted that this does not need to pay council tax. But every year or 2 years, they'll write and say, we think this is still the case, please confirm. That's the situation. So I have a genuine example of not paying council tax. Oh, you say, lucky you. I'm paying £5,500 to the main place, Fox. More worrying is the thought that the election could be deferred. It's on YouTube, asked 4 times by Trevor Phillips. Never mind it out loud. So it's on their mind, I'm sure of that. if we're all actors one, we can change anything we want, the same as we've done with poll tax. Oh, if we all act as one, Simon. Right, I covered this point earlier on, Simon. We won't all act as one. So, first of all, poll tax was very different setup from now. Very different time, very different situation, very different government, very different reaction to that government, very different life scale of that government. Council tax affects property, poll tax affects individuals. The blunt reason why poll tax partly went down was because a lot of people that had never been required to pay rates previously were suddenly required to pay, and some of them, and I'm putting this nicely, had nothing to lose. So they went on protests. Think your standard lefty these days who have got nothing to lose, right? Weekend protesters, live off benefits, they've got nothing to lose. They will protest it. That's your problem. People who are grown-ups, who live at home, rented or owns property, flat, apartment, whatever, are not going to risk it as a rule. Some will, but by no means all. So you won't get everybody acting as one, Simon. It's not to do your idea, Dan. It's just not human nature. Bradders, can you repeat what you just said, please? Which bit, Bradders? How are you? Why do you think Labour are wanting to delay? You know why, Jamaz. We pay over 4 cases English. It's too much money. Why do you think a delay has been put out there? What's the bigger picture? Jamaz, it's really simple. Labour are only seeing themselves lose seats at the moment. They are hoping if they can stay in power longer, if they can delay some of the elections in time, some people may get fed up with Farage or fed up with Polanski. So they are hoping that some of those won't go to Greens or more likely to Reform. And every time they lose a council, that increases pressure for them in a general election. So that's the reason they're doing it. That's the sole reason. I don't mind paying tax, and I don't care where my tax go to benefit as long as everybody is, says Fox. That's very nice of you, Fox. In Bulgaria, they've removed a corrupted government. We should follow suit. Council tax at your place. Oh, $5,500. Do you think they can make us have digital ID and make it compulsory like council tax? Easy Cook, they already are. If you're a company director, you have to have digital ID in order to renew your to submit your documents, your forms, which of course is a legal requirement. They're doing the same now with driving licenses. There's absolutely no way the general election will be delayed. No, probably not, Jake. But they'll put it back as late as they can, unless they think they've got any chance of doing anything better. Have you never challenged your council tax bans? When it came out, everyone was lumped into bans, says Linda. No, I've never challenged because my first property was a band A, so clearly I wasn't going to challenge that. My second property was slap in the middle of, I can't remember what price it was, but it was slap in the middle, so I had no chance of protesting that. And I then increased the size of that property by a third, or whatever the allowable amount was. Completely upgraded it, and they didn't move it. So clearly I wasn't going to challenge that one. And where I am right now, I'm in the band H. And I'm so well into band H, there's literally no point me challenging. Labour running scared, that's why. I think you're right, Wayne. Kevin, some say Starmer's lost the plot. Did he ever have the plot? That's a very good point. Will be similar to online banking. Many won't jump on board, but eventually will be standard. Yeah, Hayden, I think you're right. So what councils will do is they will decide that they are going to delay elections. It's the government that's allowed it and pushed it, but it's the councils that will get the blame. The councils won't care because it will mean they don't have to deal with an election. That's the same as digital banking. Banks will say you need a government-approved form of ID, and you will go, what? And they'll say digital ID. And you'll go, well, I don't want to bank with you. So you move to the next one, and they'll say the same. The reason they'll do that is not because the banks care, but the banks will be fined huge sums of money if they don't do whatever is required by the government. It's the same as money laundering. I honestly believe a conflict of some sort will be Russia will delay a general election. Let's hope not. I've challenged and got council tax dropped, but I had to get an MP involved. Thanks, Doug. It's probably a very unique to you situation. So in terms of what we've been talking about today, with respect and love, not relevant to most people. Labour could just improve their policies and get working people back on side instead of postponing elections. Is that too obvious? Andrew, I think it probably is. Listen, folks, thank you all for being here. Much appreciated. It's been a good live. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will check that connection on the well formula because I think there's something clearly wrong with that. I'll get that checked up and running. And folks on YouTube, Facebook, and Insta, I will see you next time. It's been, I think, a good live. I've enjoyed